Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very first show of the Mystery Monday. I am Sophie from Maison Jupiter, and I'm with my lovely co-host, Solreta. Hi, Solreta. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. We were just chatting backstage about both of us not sleeping last night, and I've got a cold. So yeah, I'm awake. I'm in front of the computer.
Oh, wait a
How are
second.
you
I lost you. This is
doing?
what happened. It's the first show that we do. We're out of Mercury retrograde, but for some reason, I'm alone on the show. You're back. Thank you.
I don't know where I disappeared to.
Don't go. Don't leave me here, please.
I will stay, I promise.
So, like I said, it's a very first show. It's going to be a monthly deep dive on different topics. It is going to be today on Nataly Wood, but we're going to cover over the month different people, different events, mystery of any kind. So, please send us every mystery we want us to investigate. We will do the list and we will pull from the list each month different topics. So, thank you again for showing up, everyone, to this lovely first show. And before we start, I just wanted to say that we are both going to use tarot readings. So we're both tarot readers and we read from different different kinds of tarot, that's for sure. But we are amazing at reading from the galactic to the past life and anywhere in between. So if you need your own personal reading, you can book at maisonjupiter.com and you can, I'm sorry, I'm laughing alone at that fact that you went away. So I'm sorry, I'm still in this.
Oh, this is gonna be a fun show.
It's going to be a fun show for sure. So yes, I was going to say you can book with us at maisonjupiter.com using the coupon code for 10% off. It's Jupiter. And you have mine right there also. So this is me and Sarita. Of course, if you like this kind of content and you like us being silly and making mistakes live, you can also share the love and also be a part of this amazing community on YouTube and on Rumble. So this is what I had to say for this first part. Sarita, can I ask you, why have we felt guided to pick her as the very first topic?
Yeah, so when I was going through the list of the different people that you put, and then I added my own, which was funny because I added an extra one and I didn't see it in the list. And then, we saw that, oh, we're both with the same person. But it was when we spoke specifically about Nataly Wood that we both got the goosebumps. And I felt her spirit come in and stand next to us. And it was just such a strong pull or a strong energy to really look into this case. And yeah, there was no doubt. We're like, yeah, she's the first one that we're picking for the show. I know you felt the same as well, like such a strong pull. And I love it because like you're into a lot of the old Hollywood and the old music side of things. You must have been around in those days, I'm sure.
Can I ask for your cards? Maybe the first question we can ask would be, is she at peace right now? Or is she asking for justice still?
Yeah, sure. Should we have a look now?
Sure, please.
Yeah, let's have a look. So what was interesting too, when she did come in, like when we were talking about her, and I know you and I have had the goosebumps every single time that we've spoken about her, so I'll just talk about this initially before we look into the cards. So I felt her energy come in and there was a feeling of wanting the case cleared. So the energy that was moving through was more like, yeah, please look into it. I feel that it was not just to look into her case. I feel she was referencing looking into like Hollywood in general and looking into kind of like, I guess, hierarchy and things that happen, which we are seeing, exposed throughout the music industry, throughout Hollywood too. So there was an interesting energy behind it, that it wasn't just sort of for her in needing closure. I do feel like it was in the wider community too. So let's have a look and see what comes up. So the words that I'm actually hearing is like resting, but not at peace. I feel like that it's also wanting closure for her family. I'm feeling reference to kind of female energy in closure. So this might be for her children, her sister especially. I also feel this with. And I'll just feel into these cards. One has come in face up as well, which is really interesting. I've got the goosebump feeling starting to come back. So the card that's come out face up is my Princess of Wands. So we see here that she was such a light to the world. This is also someone who is I'm trying to bring it through because I'm feeling the energy as we're talking. So it's someone who will sometimes get pulled off her path or be dominated by other people, or other people can drag her energy down. So even though we're seeing that she's like a strong person, a strong personality and things, we're still seeing perhaps like where there's this fear energy around that situation and what happened. So we see this beautiful luminous sunshine light. But yeah, I still feel that there was something kind of keeping her from living to like her full extent, or it's almost, and I know her sister had quoted this too. She said, it's like better the devil you know, in regards to going back to old relationships and things, because there was the marriage, then the divorce, married to someone else, and then another remarriage too. So I'll just feel into these cards and see what else. So I do sort of feel, it almost feels like a state of bardo, or a state of her spirit kind of still being around and wanting closure. The vision that I'm being shown is the extreme fear of like the water, and fear around that drowning side too. So when I was researching and having a look into it, I saw with the family, because the family originally came from Russia, but we saw that there was a fortune telling session that happened with the mum. And I'm not sure if this was before the kids were born, before they moved, because they're from Russia, so before they moved to the States, or if it was after. But the fortune teller had said about the daughter becoming a Hollywood star, or that someone would become like very famous in Hollywood. But the other thing that was also said was that someone in the family would die of a drowning. So her mother, before any of the Hollywood side of things happen, had extreme fear around Natalie and the rest of the family being around water. So I think it was one of her earlier movies that she made. I forget which one, but there was a scene where she had to cross the bridge and she got pulled into the water. She was supposed to make it across the bridge in time, and the bridge gave way too early, and she actually did end up in the water. So you've also got to wonder, is this something karmically, or is this something destiny-wise that things happen in this way? Or, looking at it from a quantum entanglement point of view, is that when we generate so much fear and charge that we end up having the thing that we don't want to happen. So I'll flip these cards over. We have the Devil card as the first one. So I do feel there's a lot of things under the surface that perhaps were not exposed around the personalities around the case. We have Queen of Swords. She definitely wants her voice heard. We have the Five of Swords defeat, and we have the Star card. So she's definitely that sort of shining light that we were talking about before. But yeah, you can see here, this does not look like a situation of feeling at peace. This more kind of like turmoil, tumultuous energy. Yeah, you can see Queen of Swords, Five of Swords. And I just keep hearing the word silenced. So I do feel there were certain, perhaps like payoffs and things that may have happened, or certain people that step in to protect old Hollywood, and even Hollywood to this day and age. Yeah, did you want to elaborate on any of that? I just see her referenced as this beautiful bright star too.
Okay, well, maybe we could keep a little bit for the end, because you're saying a lot of beautiful things. But I think if people don't know exactly who she was and step by step, we may lose them. So let's start with step by step, and let's keep the questions for maybe more towards the end, once everybody is on the same page about the chronology of the events.
Yeah.
If it's okay with you, I'm going to start with giving a little bit of background before the main event. The main event today is going to be the mystery of her passing. So if you don't want to hear anything about her passing, this is basically what we're going to deep dive into for today. So fair warning for everyone watching, this is really going to be about her passing. So you know what you're going to get into a little bit. Okay. So let's start. I'm going to share the very first picture that we have. And this is her picture. How cute is she?
Very cute.
She's really, really adorable. So I'm going to start with a little bit of background for everyone that may not exactly know who she was or not know her a lot. So her real name is Natalia Zaharenko, and she was born July 20th, 1938 in San Francisco. She's the second of three girls, and like you were saying, Solreta, she is the daughter of a Russian immigrant, and the mother had a reading, like you said, with a tarot reader, where the tarot reader told the mother that her second born, so Nataly Wood, would be famous, and that she would be, well, maybe not her, but somebody in the family would be drowning. And now we know that it's her. So this is very interesting. I'm just going to pause really quickly on this. Tarot readers sometimes have soul contract with the people that they are reading for. So we can think about the mother receiving that reading and knowing that her second daughter would be destined for fame, and that the mother was pushed to make that happen, maybe as a soul contract with the tarot reader. Sometimes the universe uses everybody around you to give you the messages. So continuing on this, we know that age four, the family moved to Santa Rosa. So when Nataly Wood was 4, they moved to Santa Rosa. At the time, it was a popular filming location, and it was in hope that she would be picked for that industry, for the filming industry. And sure enough, she was. So they went for a filming, and there was a huge crowd. The film director picked her out of the crowd and gave her a small role. Now it's really a small role, but that was the start of her career. And the director said that he really liked her, and from there she never stopped working. In 1944, the family relocated to Los Angeles, and the next year she changed her name for Nataly Wood. So that would be a bit more easy to say and a bit more American. And next we have her starring in the movie that it was big classic. I don't know if you know this one, Solreta. It's The Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, she was very cute, very beautiful.
This is not the right picture. This is going to be a fun show. I swear to you, I had the picture.
I think she had curlier hair in the movie.
Yeah, she had.
But yeah, she was a gorgeous child.
Maybe we're going to find that picture later. It's going to be a fun show. It's fair warning, we both didn't sleep last time. We were really sick. So thank you for everyone giving us a lot of grace on this. So the Miracle on 34th Street started a real career, I would say, that really had a huge success. But you have to remember, at that time, she was 7 and she had huge pressure at home. She had no childhood and she had lots of lines to learn, lots of dance moves sometimes to learn. She had a lot of pressure because she was carrying the weight of all of the family financial situation. In the next year that followed, she filmed 20 movies, and sometimes it is said that she did 2 at the time. And now it's the right picture. Now it's the right time. Rebel Without a Cause, this famous James Dean movie that she played in. She had to fight for that role, but it really, really was a good move, a smart move for her, because that changed her image from being a child to being a woman in the eyes of many people. So she could get cast as many other roles that she really wanted to have. And that really gave her a big, big career starting from that. I'll try to go quick because that's not the main event. But from there, she had a contract with Warner Brothers, and the studio arranged a date with the actor Robert Wagner. At the time, she was 18. He was 26. And whoops, that's not Robert Wagner. This is Robert Warner. Yeah, by the way, just little pause. How good is that? That after filming Rebel Without a Cause, she dated Elvis. This is when you know you are a big star now. It's when you are able to date Elvis. So this is Robert Wagner. And I would really like to ask the cards. I'm going to do this question myself. I would really like to see why the studio asked for them to be reunited in a date. Why did they arrange a date between the two of them? I really find it creepy that your employer finds you a date, but maybe that's just how it works for Hollywood. Let's see. Why did they put the two of them together? So we have Four of Wands, which represent the home, the stability, and the marriage. We have Six of Cups, which represent the love, unconditional love. And we have him as the Emperor. If I take one more card, we have the Justice, which represent the marriage. So it's basically saying that they wanted to change his image from someone that would be a little bit more partying to someone that would be stable, someone that would be loved by the public because of that American dream sweetheart thing going on. So Nataly Wood was there to stabilize Robert Wagner in all of this.
And she was only 18 at the time, and he was 26.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he had his eye on her.
You think so?
Just from when I was looking and researching, but I do think it's interesting how, Hollywood will sort of set up dates and things. And, they did tend to, back in those days, script certain relationships and, kind of a buzz. And I think it was in the movie Babylon. You can see a little bit of a background of old Hollywood. And you can see Lyra has just actually hopped up on the back of my chair. So I think she's going to join us for the show.
Oh, hi, Lyra. Welcome.
Yeah, so, that's interesting cards that you got.
Yeah, I really think that she was used in this by the studio to stabilize his career. And that proved to be right because she really played a huge role in his career. And soon enough, 1 year later after the start of their dating, they married. So they got married. And the people that he was extremely jealous. He was extremely jealous with every co-star that she would have. Basically, after playing the role in Rebel Without a Cause, she was seen as a sex symbol at a time. That's why Elvis. That's why she was able to date Elvis. But yeah, she was seen as a sex symbol at a time, and he was not able to deal with the jealousy. So they divorced 5 years later. Many problems in that relationships. I will try to go quick, like I said, because we have tons of things, but you have to understand where those two started, because he was there on the scene of the crime at the end. He was with her when she passed. So this is where we really need to understand that relationship. They got married and divorced between in the 5 years. They both married each other. And they both had one child with that other person. And it is said that when they crossed paths one more time, they felt like they never stopped loving each other. So he divorced his wife and she divorced her husband at the time. Of course, there was other things going on, like the new husband of Nataly Wood was cheating on her, so that doesn't help the situation. But they both divorced their current spouse and remarried for the second time each other. That's where, Solreta, you were saying the sentence of the sister that was at the marriage. She asked Nataly Wood, "Why are you remarrying?" Robert Wagner, and that's where the sentence comes from. She said to her sister, "Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know."
Yeah.
And the final, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it's sad too, her experiencing being cheated on, by him and also with the other husband too. So you can imagine sort of personality-wise and fear-wise what that stirs up for her, or her belief about love and about marriage. Because I know that was quite destroyed after she caught, I think it was Robert Wagner, but it was with a man.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were telling me something when we were doing the research too, about his agent or manager. Do you want to get into that as well?
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about yet.
About, I think it was Rock Hudson, who we also know is more known to be gay, but you know how they would
Yeah.
cover a lot of things up back in that day. Wasn't it the same manager that managed both of them?
Yeah, I was going to keep that for the end, but we can
Oh,
absolutely
sorry.
talk. No, no, it's okay, it's okay. So later on, we're going to ask the card because that's something that has been a lot of rumor on. So this is something I really want to ask you for later on. Absolutely on, was Robert Warner and Christopher Walken had an affair together? But I will keep that for the end. But yes, you're absolutely right. One of the rumors was that. Robert Warner was either gay or bisexual, and that basically this marriage with Natalie would serve him as a stabilizer in his career. So absolutely. And the manager of Robert Warner was the manager of Rock Hudson and many other that I don't remember right now. If you know, write it in the chat, please, that were gay but tried to not show as gay in the Hollywood time.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at, you know, the casting couch and you look at certain things that you hear about now, you know, coming out with like Diddy and other people about, you know, if you do certain things, then you'll have like a, you know, a certain kind of career or things will be really easy for you. So you want to, you know, that doesn't happen all of a sudden just now. That's existed, I guess, since the beginning of, you know, those old days too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So finishing with the little bit of background because I really want to deep dive. I cannot wait for your part, Solreta. This is really what I have been waiting for all week. I want to know what happened with her. So when they got remarried the second time, she had a daughter with him and she stayed home to raise the children. He continued with his career. He's an actor. He played in TVs and many things, but she stopped. And suddenly, 1981, the year she passed, she wanted to get back to her career. And she got cast in a film that was called Brainstorm with Christopher Walken. And this is what she was filming at the time of her passing. The filming stopped for a weekend because it was Thanksgiving, and she invited Christopher Walken for the weekend with her husband, and that's where the main event started. So I'm going to leave you. Oh yes, she played in West Side Story, and we have them right there, Robert Warner and Nataly Wood at the end. And let me just show you with Christopher Walken in that movie. The mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So, so yeah, as you were saying too, and interesting, like you have that boat pick as well. So, with this final scene and with what happened, so they were away. It was, so I'm just going to read over my little notes as well. So we have the scene with. And this is in real life. So at the time of her passing, or just before, we have them situated near Catalina Island, and so it was normal for them to go on frequent boat trips to Catalina Island. So they'd actually invited Christopher Walken, who Natalie was working with as well, and it seems to be that there was perhaps a little bit of jealousy. So you've got the captain on board the ship, whose name is Dennis. You've got Robert Wagner, Christopher Walken, and you've got Natalie. So the ship was called the Splendor, and I'm just going to have a look into this and just go over things. So yeah, on November 28th, so we're talking about Thanksgiving Day around 1981. So Wood, Wagner, and Walken and Davern, which is the enjoyed a champagne dinner at a restaurant, Doug's Harbour Reef in Catalina, before reboarding the yacht for the evening. So John Whiting, the night manager of the restaurant, later said that he was worried about the four because they were quite intoxicated. So, and he was just worried about them making it back to the boat safely. Because they had a little dinghy that they would go from the restaurant back to the boat. So don't forget, she also has an extreme fear around the water, or more, she doesn't swim. But we've got to think too about the fortune teller saying to the mum about, one of your family is going to drown. So there's a lot of this energy building just around water and things. So what we've also got here is So to make it back to the boat safely, and made it back safely to the yacht. So they left at 10:30 p.m. The toxicology report, also released after Wood's death, revealed the actress had a blood alcohol content of 0.14% at the time of her death. At the time of her death, too, she also had a full bladder, which is interesting because falling into the water, and I might get into that in a little bit, I'm jumping ahead. But yeah, it's really interesting when you see someone when they've passed that they have a full bladder, because that could also indicate some other things. So around 11 or 11:05 that evening, passengers realized Wood had gone missing and had been around her. I'm just going to jump in because there is a little bit more that is missing that happened in between. So what we see happening is, they're all on the boat, chatting and everything. And Robert Wagner slams down this bottle of, it was either wine or champagne. And I'm pretty sure that it slams so hard. I'm not sure if it smashes, but shortly after that, or actually when he slammed it, he's like, "Are you trying to F my wife?" was what he was saying to Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken goes off to his room and the two of them retire to their quarters. So the captain of the ship hears a lot of fighting and a lot of what sounds to be like physical fighting as well. Knocks and checks, and Robert Wagner says, "No, we're fine. It's all been taken care of." And just before that, there was a lot of silence too, after hearing what sounded to be like scuffles or quite a fight. So then we jump into around 11:05 that evening. The passengers realized that Natalie had gone missing and began looking for her. So around this time, it was also realized that the boat's dinghy had gone too. So when she was found, she was dressed in her pajamas, and I think she had a robe and things on as well. So it was on November 29th, 1981, that around 1:30 a.m., ship to shore was called, and this was 2 hours later as well. At 3:30 a.m., the Coast Guard was finally called. So this is a long time after. The other thing that you've got to think of at the same time is we have also another boat with a couple, and they're hearing a woman crying, screaming for help. Now, the weather's kind of stormy too. So what we also see is the lady on the other boat is wanting to help or wanting to perhaps, get into the water to try and help. And then all of a sudden there's silence. So it does sound like that there was perhaps, that she was maybe fighting for her life or wanting something. The remarks that they also heard was men's voice saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we're coming for you." But it was more not such a nice tone. And just let me know if Lyra is being too noisy, Sophie, because I can hear her playing and I can take her to another room.
There is a lot of noise, yes, but is there any way that she can maybe not play with her bell or something? I know it's a cat, so we cannot do anything.
Yeah. No, I can, if she comes near me, or I'll see what she's doing, I'll capture her. And,
that's the beauty of live shows with pets.
Yes, and she's somehow found a little bell that she's playing with in one of her toys. So anyway, going back to like what we were talking about as well, and her sister has also written a book on like the events and what's happened and trying to get to the bottom of this. Let me just run and capture her. I'll be right back.
So yes, there is a lot of questions about what happened, and we have to remember that the he said, she said that were said about that night comes from anyone else than Nataly Wood. So there is a lot of people talking about what is being said, but we have to really put our investigator hat on this, because that's why we're going to use a card, because we don't know exactly what was set up, what was being, what we have agreed and behind closed doors to say. So it makes us seem like one scenario played when it's actually another one. So we have to be smart about this.
Yeah, and I'm just going to bring up a little screen share as well. So getting to the autopsy side of things, and this is just a screenshot, Dr. Oz, because the case was also reopened as well. So yeah, you can see This one, I think, was released perhaps this year, and Dr. Oz is going over the case. They talk to the sister, but you see there was 11 bruises on the back of the body and 28 bruises on the front of the body. And yeah, you might want to like mute this section if you don't want to hear about some of the details. But so what it seems to look like from the autopsy side of things, and I think even you were saying, Sophie, that with the autopsy, it was the same head autopsy person that did, I think it was Elvis's Marilyn Monroe and some of the other celebrity ones too. So if we're thinking about people, you know, being paid off or protecting or trying to cover things for other people, it's really interesting that all these famous cases were listed or linked to the same autopsy person. What was interesting too is that with, you know, the coroners and with the Coast Guards and that, she was found with a full bladder. So this usually denotes that this she would have been unconscious at the time of falling in the water, or perhaps even thrown into the water. But yeah, with, I mean, a lot of these bruises, this doesn't really seem consistent with someone maybe perhaps falling into the water. And what they didn't do was get scrapings from under her fingernails, which may have shown that she was perhaps fighting back. So even to miss like a huge thing like that, or for that to be passed by, like with the coroner, doesn't really look like that they're trying to bring the full evidence forward. So I'm just going to make sure that we've covered most things.
And
so
Solreta, just to say, everybody is saying that the noise is really not bad, so don't worry about it. We're good. It's don't worry.
Oh, good. Thanks for letting me know. So as well, so they sort of ruled it out as kind of like an accident. And Robert Wagner was quite silent. What we see in this interview as well with Dr. Oz is, you know, that there's been many attempts for people to try and get him to talk about the experience or talk about, you know, what happened that night. We also have in September 1st, 1997, Christopher Walken also broke his silence around Nataly Wood's death. So, and offering a theory as to how she might have died. So the actor's account of the evening during the interview with the Playboy magazine was consistent with the initial investigators' findings. So, so it said anyone or anybody there saw the logistics of the boat the night where we were, and it was raining. So you would know exactly what happened. You hear about things happening to people that slip into a bathtub and fall. This many bruises, though, I mean, it doesn't look consistent with someone falling in a bathtub to have this many. You can see on her wrists and things too. This is more kind of consistent with someone grabbing or, you know, trying to pull away or stop someone. So we can see here as well. So it says, fall down the stairs, step off into the curb in London. Perhaps they can think cars or something coming the other way and then they die. And it says, you feel that you want to die making an effort to say something. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. So it says, yeah, you don't want anyone to die in some kind of unnecessary way. So it sounds like he's trying to sort of talk about other things. And so it just says what happened the night, only she knows because she was alone. So she'd gone to bed before us. This is according to Christopher Walken. And it says that her room was at the back. So the dinghy was bouncing against the side of the boat. And I think she went out to move it. Now, when I heard that, and also with what her sister was saying too, you wouldn't go to fasten a boat or the dinghy to the boat if you had a fear of drowning or if there was a not being able to swim. And also thinking about like how much alcohol, and especially if there's men on the boat, like as a woman, you wouldn't even, that would more likely be something that they would be doing or that the captain would be doing as well. So it says too, yeah, she had told him that she couldn't swim, and they'd also cut the swimming scene out of the movie Brainstorm that they were filming as well. So also talks about 30 years after her death, additional information came through. So I think this was from the captain, and that was where he talked about hearing the bottle slam on the table, what Robert Wagner had said, and talking about like there being fighting in the back of the cabin, and then all of a sudden silence. So this is why this has been reopened. So yeah, there was an interview November 18th in 2011. Sorry, I'm going to pop her in another room because she's I'll be right back, Sophie.
No problem. I was hearing it, but if you guys say that you don't hear it, perfect. But yeah, that's what happened with pets. We have to just understand that they go well. We don't have any control. I'm sure you know. Yeah, the Lara quake. I love it. Absolutely. It's okay. Last week I had Edmund destroying everything during the live show, so don't worry.
She's all good. She's in a timeout. And she was fine before we started. So I thought, no, she'll be fine. So January 14th, 2013 as well, the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department officially changed Wood's cause of death from accidental drowning into undetermined factors. So they even today say that, they're still working on the case. So yeah, February 1st, 2018, Robert Wagner was actually named a person of interest, whereas originally from the autopsies and everything as well, it was sort of seen more as an accident. So let me just see if there's anything else. So that pretty much sort of covers like what happened that night. When we look at like the different connections with the personalities and other accounts, what was interesting to me was also with Christopher Walken, there has been other celebrities talk about having meetings with him, like on rooftops and things. And I've heard stories now, this is like where you get into the woo of things like him levitating or perhaps even sort of shape-shifting and other celebrities becoming a bit intimidated or scared by him too. So we've also got to look into the woo side of Hollywood with all of this. And I think the other factor too, with having to hide your sexuality and things back in that day, it's kind of odd that it would be, just the three of them on the boat in that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm seeing a few questions being starting to come in the comments. Send us your questions. Of course, we have a small list that I have been waiting to ask you, Solreta, about this, but send us, please, your questions. So if you're feeling okay to start with the question, Solreta would have the first one, and it would be this one. So thank you so much for your question, Maria. So she's asking, was she sacrificed, basically?
Yeah, let's have a look and see into that. I'm hearing a woman's voice saying no, just to let you guys know what is coming through. The energy that's coming through feels disorganized. It feels like heated, emotional. It feels like scattered energy. And we will just pick some cards around this. I do also feel like a regret type energy around it and more kind of like a shock and a disbelief. So it doesn't to me feel like something that was premeditated. It feels like I've just got like dramatic goosebumps is the only way to describe like what I'm feeling as I look into the energy of this. So we've got 5 cards. I'll just feel into this too. Yeah, it more feels like deep sadness and sorrow, and it almost feels like an energy that will be taken to the grave, perhaps even from the other people that were involved in this situation as well. So I'll flip these cards over. So we also see personalities like quite stubborn. So it does seem like there was perhaps like a butting of heads or, Wagner and Natalie not wanting to sort of back down. We do have a Prince of Disc and we have my 5 of Swords. We see the Justice card, which is called Adjustment in this deck. And we also see as well Princess of Disc. So very interesting. We have the Prince and Princess of Disc. But I do see a 9 of Disc coming up to do with future as well. So I do feel that it's not that her spirit is sort of like, what was the question we had before, like around her being at peace, and we saw that she was sort of in that state of flux. It's almost like even in just sort of looking at it from different angles and discussing it, it's sort of there's an unraveling of energy or a deeper sense of peace coming from just talking about, the different aspects and things too. So that's really interesting. But yeah, it does feel like that there was sort of like this butting of head type energy with, some stubborn characters.
Interesting. Thank you. Can I also ask you? So we had the question earlier in the show. Now it's really time to ask it. Is there anything that we have to know about relationship with Robert Wagner? Let's start with this. In fact, let's start with the basic. What was is not that it really mattered, but just for this mystery of the event, was Robert Wagner bisexual, hetero, straight, basically, or gay?
Yeah, sure. That's interesting. The first thing that comes up too is not just the fact of that, but I'm hearing the word strategic.
Mm,
So it was almost like strategically certain situations, relationships, or certain kind of happenings. Yeah, it's almost like you could go both ways. But yeah, I feel that there's almost like a sense of strategy as well. So it's not just going for something to do with like urges, is the feeling that I get. So let's have a look. And that is a great little statement.
mhm.
Um, so let's see, I've got 5 cards. I'm just more sort of like hearing swings both ways. So I'll flip these over. What's interesting too, I did look a little bit into the face reading side of things, like just looking at each of the personality profiles and characters. And Robert Wagner has sort of like this little part here, the philtrum that's between the nose and the lips. He does have like that area being a lot kind of longer, especially when you look at like his older photos. It seems to be like a little bit more out of proportion or a little bit longer. This is sometimes connected to do with like our sexuality and things too. And I just kept getting drawn to like that portion of his face when I was just looking into the photos. But yeah, when we look into this, this is more worry about things coming out. It's trying to keep secrets hidden. It's trying to keep things in the closet. I feel like there's blackmailing and things as well that are happening with this. So this is both to and from. So it might be that other people had information on him that kept him sort of like under control, but we're also sort of seeing where he perhaps also then learned to use that kind of manipulation and that himself. So yeah, 5 of discs, the 2 of cups. So I do feel this was about like, you know, connections and different things. I do get love and lust. So there was perhaps situations of having love for certain people and then lust for others. And then we have a 7 of swords. So yeah, with this 7 of swords, this is just like always sort of like sneaky energy in the background, keeping things hidden. So yeah, this would not be fun to have to live life in this way. It would always be looking over your shoulder, is what
Yeah.
I'm sort of feeling. Yeah. And even though we're in different times now in terms of, you know, celebrities and, you know, being able to just be a little bit more free with who you are and that, it still is like quite embedded
Mhm.
in the old Hollywood side of things that you can't be out of the closet.
Yeah. It's quite
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I will answer that other part of the questions that I had with this. Thank you so much, Lorianne, for your question. I really want to see Walken and Warner together. Was there a relationship there? So I will take 2 cards for this. What was the energy between the 2 men, please? Okay, that's intense. I had to take more because it's not ending. That sentence, it's really, really. So we have the Hermit, and underneath this card, it says soul searching, and we have conflict, and it's 2 men. So
Interesting.
I think there was one of them that was really pushing their orientation away, you know, pushing it like, I resist, I am not accepting this part of me. So this is not answering if there was anything between the 2 of them, but this is saying that they may be, for lack of a better word, in the same boat together. We do have Ace of Wands and Knight of Cups. So I think there was a spark that was between the 2 of them, but that got initiated with Nataly Wood, meaning that I think they were, and I'm sorry to say this, I think they were more aiming for the 3 together
That's the feeling I'm getting too. It was more like because as I was saying before, like it's just odd that it was just the three of them, a husband and wife. And then, when you look back at the old photos of Christopher Walken around like the filming of that movie and things too, and especially, if Robert Wagner does swing both ways, then yeah, really interesting.
And the last card that I had is the card of secret, the High Priestess and the Empress. So I think she had this heavy secret that she had to keep for such a long time. But yes, definitely, I think there was a lot of spark between the two men. But with this energy of one of them rejecting this side of them, it can go wild in many directions. It could have been Christopher Walken pushing this side of him and really going crazy around maybe sexual advance that was made. We won't know. So,
Yeah.
Rita, can you maybe ask the cards what really happened that night between the three of them?
Yeah. And I get a feeling of, sometimes like when the word disgust is coming up, and I feel like such a deep sense of shame and sickness, but I also feel that there's some kind of attraction, but it's like trying to deny that part of yourself is the energy that I'm getting come up around those cards that you picked in the situation. So let's have a look and see if we can see what really happened that night. I just saw Five of Cups and the Devil card, just as I'm shuffling too. So Five of Cups, loss, grief, disappointment, the Devil card, anger, violence, things like that sort of coming over. So let's just get some cards on this. Okay, just feel into these. So it's interesting. I'm sort of getting shown things more from like her point of view. I do feel there was excitement and kind of like a bit of chemistry with her and Walken. I do feel kind of like that flirty sort of feel of there's some kind of charisma or spark energy that he was bringing out in her. And I'm seeing like Wagner feeling jealous about that. But I also feel that there's an energy of wanting to kind of like get back, or because she'd caught him, cheating. And I feel like it's wanting to be desired is the feeling, or feeling happy and magnetic and feeling attractive. So I'm more being shown it from this point of view. I just feel back into it and see what happens. All of a sudden I'm feeling like that disgust, kind of like shame energy and things too. I do feel like an accusing type energy come in from Wagner around the connection of Nataly Wood and Christopher Walken as well. Yeah, it's like the chemistry between them. You could just kind of feel it feels electric. So I'll flip these over. Oh my gosh. And we literally have a sign that looks like that. I do feel like though Wagner feels like the more dominating, sort of like more masculine personality in this situation. So we see a Prince of Wands, which, sometimes this will more be someone who has kind of like a spark, or they're working more from kind of like a sexual chemistry magnetism point of view. We've got Nataly Wood here represented as the Princess of Disc again, which she came up with before. So with this is more like it's bringing out kind of like that, like young love, kind of like teenager spark type energy, or like feeling attractive. We do have like a strong connection with the Two of Cups, and with this chemistry, I was saying before, you could feel it. It's magnetism, and Ace of Wands represents that. There was something perhaps that she maybe even wanted with the three of them. So whether this was to also, how she'd caught him before, like with a man too, maybe this was kind of like how they could deal with being in a relationship, or sort of making things work for them. But yeah, we do see the Emperor energy being that overpowering presence, like with this. But yeah, it's just such like confusion, kind of like cauldron of emotion and energy, but so highly charged and electric.
Absolutely, making a lot of sense. The next
Yeah.
question come from a comment that John, you wrote. I really like this because that's exactly where I wanted to go next. Was there any regret about what happened that night?
Yeah, let's have a look. And I did feel that there was perhaps, taking it to the grave type energy. There's a lot of like confusion and shame. And I do feel that there was regret. That was the energy I had come up. But let's have a look to the cards. I also feel like a lot of volatility in not knowing how to control anger and things. It more is sort of coming up with Robert Wagner's energy in this situation, but I'll flip these cards straight over. So yeah, it's interesting. On a soul lesson level 2, this is interesting looking at it sort of more from a karmic point of view, is how the cards are coming out. And I do feel this more connected with Natalie Wood's side of things too. So we've got the Queen of Discs. So we see her graduate from being the princess into the queen. So I do feel that, like, sort of looking back on the situation, which is interesting, I didn't expect to see it from her point of view. I was expecting to see from the surviving people, like if there was regret around this. So what I'm seeing is this was perhaps like a lesson around more kind of these darker, fiery relationships and people that are more kind of controlling. So we see Queen of Disc, and then we also see the devil and we see the high priestess. So I do feel that on a soul level 2, it's helped her to recognize patterns in people, to see not to get involved in the same sort of situations and things. We do see a lot of disappointment as well. So I'm more getting it shown from her point of view. And we have the Prince of Disc again. Interesting that we keep getting the Prince and Princess come up, but we're seeing that her soul has sort of like evolved from this situation, or there's things that she's breaking free from. So a little bit different to the question we were looking at. But yeah, Spirit sometimes will like to show or talk to us from another vantage point, and I always like to respect that.
Yeah. So the next question is about past life. I see a lot of people asking, so I would love to be able to answer that questions about what was their karma, and most likely, did they create any new karma? So I think, Solreta, you just answered that for the point of view of Natalie. She moved on to something else.
Yeah.
But maybe the two guys didn't, because there was no justice, there was no talking about what really happened and taking the responsibility over this. So let's see point of view. Let's start with past life.
Yeah.
Did they had past life together? So I'm going to take 2 cards on this. I will try to take 2 cards, but sometimes they want me to take more. So let's see. Okay, so definitely there is past life around this topic. We have the 8 of Swords, which in my deck, this one, it is showing up as imprisonment. And one detail that I like about this card, if we can really like this kind of thing, we have blood on the throat chakra, meaning that it's a lesson about talking. It is a lesson about speaking up. And those 2 guys are stuck in it. So they have been working on, the 3 of them, on talking, even though it's tough, about a difficult situation. And when we have that card, it's limiting belief. It is situations that are around fear, but normally no physical danger, but around fear of things. And we have to really learn how to speak up in those situations. We have the Magician and we have the 8 of Wands, saying that in past life, they have been burned as witch. I don't know who exactly, but the 3 of them have that capacity of being outcasts, normally being, well, when you think about this, the 2 guys may have been not straight, so already cast out of that kind of society at the time. We have her that was coming from an immigrant family and that was in difficult marriage. So it makes sense that their souls were working on the same kind of mission, that is finding their place in the world and trying to fit in, speaking out their own truth. So trying to fit in is not people pleasing, is just finding your place in the world and speaking your truth. I think they were really trying to do this, but for some reason, the 2 guys hasn't learned their lesson. They need to speak up.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it feels like.
Good. And I think I would like to ask you, why did they keep the silence? Why is the Robert Wagner refused to cooperate, so not speaking up, and why Christopher Walken hasn't speaking up about what really happened? Why the silence?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just going to get first 3 cards to have a look like Robert's side of things. And then I'll also get 3 cards around Christopher Walken's energy as well. And I actually better go in a minute because I have a client.
No problem.
So I'm just flipping these over. So we see like there's a lot of oppression energy with Robert Wagner around the death, and we've got a 9 of Wands. So this is sort of like psychically, spiritually feeling like he's got to defend or fight things off. Like there's a huge kind of energetic protection around this situation. But I do feel like it's a huge, huge burden that he energetically will carry for the rest of this life. I even see it perhaps even going into the next life, that there'll be karmic and soul lessons to learn from this situation. And sometimes we'll see this when there's a heavy kind of like trauma energy or emotion in one lifetime. Think about it being like a PTSD on the soul. It vibrates and ripples through into this next lifetime. So there might still be some things that he really needs to work with to abolish, is the word I'm hearing, and clear in the next lifetime. And then with Christopher Walken, we see 8 of Cups and the Peace card. And we also see the Chariot. He really just wants to put it behind him. It feels like an emotionally fracturing type situation that he wants peace on. So I do actually feel kind of like a deeper sense of emotion come through from him than what I do from Wagner's energy. With Wagner's energy, more feels kind of like a shutdown. I want to forget about it. I want to lock it away. I don't want to think about it. But yeah, with Christopher Walken, it does seem that there is kind of like more I don't know the right word to say in English, but there's like a regret around things happening and the way that they happen. Now just get a quick clarifier around this. And we have 6 of Swords. So this is interesting. 6 of Swords, it does represent a journey in things. For me, it also represents things that are being worked with in other times or other spaces or in other realms side of things. So it does feel like there's been a bit of an evolution with his energy around that.
Thank you so much. So there is still a lot of question, I think, but this is a big start to help us understand what really happened and why, and the big picture of it. So I know you have to go, but I appreciate you showing up so much. It is our very first show together. And even though we had a lot of technical difficulties and everything, I just want to say it was a great pleasure to be with you. So thank you, everybody watching.
Thank you. Yeah, it was so much fun. Oh, and I've just seen, let me pop this up. This was what I was talking about before as well. So thank you, Ken. So yeah, you know, there is that deeper, darker side of Hollywood. So this is going to be an interesting series. So thank you so much, Sophie, and to everyone watching as well. And thank you for being patient with us in this brand new show and with the chaos of cats and no sleep and colds and things, you know, but we just really wanted to bring this to you guys.
Don't worry. We both have things at home. Don't worry about this. So thank you so much. Don't forget, if you like this content, to give us share, comments, and our love language is like. So thank you so much. And we love you guys. We will see you next month, not next week. And of course, you can book your own personal reading with us at maisonjupiter.com using Jupiter as 10% coupon code for your next reading. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.